This is the second semester I've been piloting the course. The first semester, I did bring it in a bit more sporadically. There were elements where I felt trade fit, and so I'd have an activity here. I'd explicitly reference it there. This semester, I've really moved towards trade being one of the central themes of the course. And so we started out with some very economics-based lectures where I warned the students there will be figures, there will be equations, and gave them that framework at the very beginning and have traced that through the entire course. And part of the reason is this course is world history 1500 to the present. You have to skip tremendous amounts of material to in any way convey world history over 500 plus years of history. And so to avoid it just being one darn thing after another that's randomly selected by the instructor, each of us has some kind of theme. My theme that unites material, I tend to focus on how imperialism, the expansion and contraction of empires, collision of empires, led to globalization and the world we know today. Trade has now become one of the central ways I look at that expansion and those interactions and arguments between empires. And so it's really helped become this way that students are now able to kind of see it coming. When I say, okay, what trade policy is really at work here? What are they fighting over in terms of trade policies? It's given them a feeling of a certain level of mastery that they can then look at to analyze these interactions. It changed the content more so than the goals. The goals was still this more skill-based. But I do think it does help get at one of the goals, which is comparing arguments, comparing two different perspectives about an event in history. And that can be quite difficult. However, there's been some long-standing economic historians debates that are a bit easier to boil down in that setting, to say group one believes A, group B believes B, this is why, and to really work through with students this element of history, which is it's contested. We can agree on facts, but not the interpretations of them, and that those are constantly being argued, and that's why argument is so important to the field of history. In terms of how other faculty might approach this, and what advice I would have for someone thinking about either bringing in a global module or altering their curriculum in some way to try to address these new global concerns, there are a number of points. One, I would definitely say it requires more than one semester, which I think most faculty would already suspect, but I just want to reinforce from my own experience that the first semester was a true pilot, and I feel like I'm seeing much more of the potential of this material in its second run, and I think that's something people know, but sometimes it's nice to hear. If it doesn't go right the first semester, it probably wouldn't have anyway. You need to just keep trying it. I also would say that as much as we hear the buzzwords about interdisciplinary, I think because it's a buzzword, it sometimes is a bit overkill, but I really have benefited from stretching to try to learn some economics. And it doesn't necessarily mean I'm bringing that economics into the classroom, but my understanding of economics is shifting the way I understand some of this material, and it's been really beneficial for me as a historian and a researcher, as well as in the classroom. I think the students are benefiting from my knowledge, especially for an introductory course where I have a lot of students who are business majors. Even that small amount of terminology helps me connect the material to their major in a new, and I believe, more effective manner. So I think the global modules become an easy way to introduce yourself to an otherwise interesting, but perhaps okay, when I have tenure, when I've got full professor down the road, when I have time, I'll go learn this new field. I think the global modules are these little packages which you can take on, and it becomes a way to introduce that material to yourself, and then through that you can pass it on to your students.